Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Ruth Thompson and I'm part of the marketing team here at Workbooks. Today's webinar is the TCMM Shutter Group CRM story, and we're joined here today with people from TCMM who I will introduce you to in a little bit. I just wanted to say that this is going to be a short Q&A session where we just talk through their CRM journey. And the TCMM Shutter Group is obviously they are a leading provider in interior shutters, and they have a global reach across 5 brands. So correct me guys if I get this wrong. We've got DIY shutters, we've got California shutters, we've got the Shutter Store, and that's UK and US. My personal favourite, just because I love the name, is Shutterly Fabulous, and then we've got Carter and Clark. So if I introduce you to, if my slides will move on, yes, to the people who have joined me today. We've got Sam Tamlyn, who's the Operations Director at TCMM. Hi, Sam.
Hi, everyone.
We've got Vicky Bibby, who is the Digital Lead at TCMM. Hi, Vicky.
Hello.
And we've got our very own Brendan Crawford, who heads up the professional services team here at Workbooks. Hi, Brendan.
Afternoon, everyone.
Brendan's also been involved in the TCMM project almost from the very beginning. So if we start at the very beginning, pre-CRM, Sam, what were the challenges that your business was facing?
As a business, we started trading in 2002, and I joined the group in 2008. By the time we got to around 2016, we'd gone a period of strong growth. We were a business that was turning over £10 million, and that's on, as Ruth mentioned earlier, we've got various brands, and these brands serve different channels. So we sell shutters in the DIY, B2C. We also, Shutterly Fabulous is a measure and fit company where we go and measure the shutters and fit them for customers. We also have a B2B business, Carter and Clark. We've got quite a lot going on here. It's pretty bad feedback, I'll try and. Oh, thanks, Vicky.
You're fine.
Yeah, great. But yeah, we were like a lot of small companies, started in the owner's bedrooms and moved a couple of times. And come 2016, we had a very basic CRM system, and we had a lot of spreadsheets across the business. And we were just, as we were growing, we were having to employ more and more staff just to stand still, it felt like. So it came about of, it was a good headache to have, let's say. Strong growth, good turnover, but to take the next step, which we wanted to do, we know we needed to invest heavily in a CRM system, which would put us more in touch with our customers and improve our efficiency.
Okay, great. And I'm sure a lot of the audience can relate to that kind of situation. So I forgot to mention that absolutely ask questions in the questions box, and we'll try our best to get to those at the end of this session. So what we decided to do here was actually to talk through the TCMM story using a timeline from 2017 through to today. So here is the timeline that we have. And this started with building a business case for CRM. What were the outcomes that you were looking to achieve at this stage?
It was two main objectives, and they were equal actually in their importance. We wanted to be able to have a much better understanding of our customers and the sales funnel, and be able to remarket to them, follow up our leads, have an absolute overview of the business that was coming in and how we would do our customers, and therefore improve conversion. But the backbone to that is the building blocks, and we'd grown too quickly, and we were at a limit. Like I say earlier, we're a spreadsheet business, and we knew we had to stop that and get our arms around everything, get our data in, stop all this multiple queuing of information across different departments. So it was efficiency, and it was to improve sales conversion and growth and margin.
Perfect. And we've got on this timeline slide here where we're talking about multiple brands, multiple marketplace. complex products and pricing and customer comms. In layman's terms, what did you need a CRM to do for you that you didn't already have?
Well, it's as I mentioned, it's to get us all onto one platform, into one place. But one of our business strategies is the B2C business, where we measure and fit for customers. That's complicated. We go into people's houses and take measurements of their windows, and there's so many different options for shutters. You know, I could sit here all day and talk about them. Those have been scrappled down on bits of paper and faxed in, or same thing, photograph and emailed in. And the office team were typing those up. And one of the big things we undertook was to bring that into a configurator, a purpose-built configurator on Workbooks, whereby in the home, when they get home, the sales consultants could type up the information there and then, and that would come straight into here, which we could send to manufacturing. It also does a few other things like quotes and orders, but we were taking away that double key and the errors that would come about from, is that an 8, is that a 5, is that a 3, and you know, the consequences. If we make the shutter wrong, it's in the, you know, customers wait up to 15, 16 weeks these days, and it goes in the bin. Not going to be happy. So there was a layman's terms, I think that was the question, Ruth, was to improve our efficiency, but we did undertake a pretty hefty challenge and got through that for what we're doing in people's homes.
Okay, perfect. And so we're still in 2017, and this is when you selected vendors that you were going to review. And at this time, you chose to attend our Shared Success workshop. So Brendan, can you explain what our Shared Success workshop does, and what we cover, and what we hope to achieve at the end of the 2 days?
Sure, absolutely. The workshops last, generally speaking, 2 or 3 days. And the intention is to help the customer basically quantify the business benefits of investing in CRM. And the ultimate outcome is, or the output, if you like, is a CRM roadmap. So it's the customer's journey to success with CRM, and a kind of high level appreciation of how that journey might be phased, and what the overall project cost would be. How we go about it, quite intensive interactive workshops. As I said, generally speaking, 2 days on site. In the good old days when we used to go on site and stop overnight and be back again the next morning. And ultimately it's about understanding your business goals, the current challenges you face, and it's warts and all. We want to know all your pain points, and also the opportunities that a new CRM might bring. And then to come to a kind of mutual agreement with what are the actual desired business outcomes, and what are the priorities of those outcomes. And the follow-up to those 2 days of workshops is a kind of follow-up day or a half-day session, which is presenting back to you the findings and our recommendations of your CRM roadmap, an appreciation of your current system landscape and how that might look in a bright new future with a new CRM system. So that's the ultimate goal of the Shared Success workshop, is to give you that roadmap that we can follow together.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brendan. Sam, we've had a couple of comments on sound, so if you could just speak up, you guys, a little bit more from that room. How did you find that workshop?
I really enjoyed it. I got to sit here and go through all my pain points, and people could listen to my pain and resonate with me. No, it was excellent. There was 2 or 3 people from Workbooks with us for the 2 days, and we, yeah, as Brendan mentioned, we went through all the systems we have now. We went through our aspirations. We found the Workbooks were able to understand our business. They had to come in and understand our business quite quickly. So yeah, I really enjoyed explaining all the problems and being offered a lot of solutions. So yeah, it was a great couple of days, problem solving.
Great, that's good to hear. That shared success workshop, actually, whilst you get that feedback, that roadmap, you don't have to then choose Workbooks. You can take that to any other vendor, but you did choose Workbooks. Why did you choose Workbooks?
I think collectively as people we bonded. There was an understanding straight away of how they'd seen our pain. They could understand what it was we were trying to achieve. They gave us solutions, and it was when can we start really? We just, we were long overdue what I call a decent CRM system, which is now the backbone of our business. And the people on the shared workshop, your team just came in and understood what we wanted to accomplish.
Excellent. So we're now into 2018, and we've scoped it all out, or we haven't scoped it all out, but we're about to. Brendan, how does your team approach a project, an implementation project like this?
Well, interestingly, in TCMM's case, I can't take any credit for the Shared Success Workshop because I joined Workbooks actually literally a couple of weeks later. But TCMM became my first project as engagement manager. So my job was to pick up that shiny new CRM roadmap that was the output from the Shared Success Workshop, go into the phase of what we call detailed discovery and the solution design. So my job was basically to lead the consulting team to dig deeper into the next level down on all of those requirements that had been surfaced in those pain points and those desired outcomes in the course of the Shared Success Workshop. And for me, joining the company, going on a system admin training course, learning of the capability of Workbooks, and then being given, here's a customer CRM roadmap, and they've just signed up for Workbooks, let's get in and do the implementation, was just a fantastic grounding for me, because I had this 42 slide deck, which was all of the output from the detail of the Shared Success Workshops. So then my job was to say, okay, detailed discovery, solution design, get into configuration and start the implementation. Initially, we were looking at implementing Shutterly Fabulous. And so that was the detail that we dug into. I remember very fondly to this day, 4 years later, actually doing a small amount of the configuration of something that was a really tricky part of the requirement, going down literally the next week to TCMM, demonstrating it, and the response being, you guys do get it. That's exactly what we're aiming at, which was exciting and interesting and very gratifying that we really got what the requirement was. And from then on, I led the project as engagement manager.
And you break it into phases, don't you?
Yeah, often. Sometimes some customers need their solution to be, the kind of big bang approach, because they might be replacing something where the license is about to run out, for example. So they might have an absolute drop dead date. Everything goes in one go. More often than not, it tends to be phased. And in TCMM's case, the different brands that needed implementing were a kind of ideal, kind of natural phasing.
Yeah, absolutely. So later on, or actually still in 2018, you had some business priorities change. Sorry, we'll go back. How did you find that implementation process?
I think actually, Ruth, what you were just about to say is relevant as well. We were having a great time implementing Shutterly and getting under the bonnet, but then the business, we had to make quite a drastic change within the business, and that was to our manufacturers and supply, which meant we went from a distributor in the UK for our online customers to actually direct source, doing it ourselves, and having to create our own in-house logistics team with some other logistics partners. And so very quickly we had to change direction, although it was the same people, because we're all TCMM. It was very much our different business model of DIY that we jumped onto. And the implementation started all over again. So it proved how agile we were.
Yeah, so I mean, you obviously had to go from moving 2 brands to doing your online brands instead. Is that right?
Yeah. So with the change of supplier, previously our distributor in the UK had a dropship model. So we would simply place orders with them and they would make them and literally drop them off at our customers' homes for us. So it was quite light touch beyond us actually raising those manufacturing orders. With the direct supply, we suddenly had to handle the entire process end to end. And that meant a solution for handling the international freight, so getting the orders from our overseas manufacturer to the UK and keeping customers informed during that process. And then again, when they reach the UK, being able to create courier labels, get them booked in with the delivery companies, get them delivered and get those customers notified. So that was the main thing that we set out to achieve with the online brands at that point. It was really to just plug that gap of, oh, we actually don't have a solution currently to do that for us, and Workbooks stepped in and did that.
Excellent. We talk here also about integration, so with the CMS and automating order fulfillment and everything. Brendan, can you talk a bit about the integrations and the complexities of the TCMM project in general?
Sure, absolutely. You know, Sam and Vicky came to us with this revised set of requirements, and I would say there was certainly a sense of urgency about it because it was quite a big change of direction. And one of the principles of that was to be able to accept orders into Workbooks from the content management system where the online customers were actually placing the orders for different brands, turn those into effectively supplier orders, factory orders. So automating the creation of those factory orders, no spreadsheets involved at all, and then dealing with the help with the automation of customer communications. So I'm sure Vicky can correct me if I'm wrong, but literally once the shutters are produced and in a container on the ocean, if there's a delay in that, previously there would be 147 phone calls or emails to customers to say your shutters are going to be a week late or 2 weeks late, whatever it might be. Now with the click of a couple of buttons, they can send 147 emails out to those customers saying, here's your new ETA, apologies for the delay. Things like that just made tremendously manual processes much more automatic. So that was the essence of what we were doing for the online brands very, very quickly in that kind of mid 2018 period. Very exciting. I'm glad that we could help and be agile enough to respond to the change in requirements, and went live early in the second half of 18.
Yes, and Vicky, I know you were very involved at this stage. What were the key benefits that you experienced once you went live?
Well, beyond addressing the initial challenge that we had, we also found that the process that we implemented saw an increase in customer satisfaction. So actually, what we were able to deliver in terms of communication was significantly better than what we had before. So customers were a lot happier with the updates, and we were able to keep them informed over what is quite a drawn out delivery process. Could be up to 12, 14, 16 weeks in some cases. But the other thing, by actually taking those externally created orders into Workbooks, we suddenly were able to benefit from the reporting capability of the system. So at that point, we were able to see our very complex array of product options in a much more granular sort of detail. So we were suddenly able to see what was selling at a very sort of specific level, and then make informed choices off the back of that. So decide, well, actually, these 10 colours, for example, are only being sold once every 6 months. Yeah. Let's take them out of the offering and make that offering more targeted for the customer, which, it's decisions like that that actually made it easier for customers to buy what is quite a complex product and can sometimes feel overwhelming with the number of choices that you can make. So yeah, I think instantly gaining that reporting capability was something that we didn't necessarily set out to achieve at that point, but was a real great benefit.
Excellent. So we're into 2019 now. I mean, obviously work resumed on Shutterly Fabulous and event in 2019. You went live with Shutterly Fabulous and John Lewis. Brendan, what were the differences between this implementation and the last one?
Well, Sam and Vicky can explain the differences between the online brands and the measure and install brands far better than I can. But in essence, there is a lot more involved in the creation of the quotation, the customer quotation for the measure and install brands like Shutterly Fabulous, because as Sam said, we actually have TCMM actually have a surveyor go in, measure all your windows, literally every dimension to the nearest millimeter, find out what range and style and color and all, immense number of different attributes that go into the specification of a shutter. So those are a little bit more complex for measure and install and are put in individually by the surveyors, as opposed to the DIY online brands where it's a cut down version of that. It's literally height and width and some drop down choices. So it's a more complex product. And we were using, if you like, more of workbooks. So we were using the customer quotation. The surveyor, for instance, could give a customer a quote. The customer says, oh, that's a bit more than I wanted to pay. Is there a cheaper option? The surveyor can say, well, actually, we've got a slightly more cost-effective material we could use. We can repeat the quotation, all the dimensions get copied, and here's your new price with a different material, or maybe a standard color as opposed to a custom, that kind of thing. What more of that complication is associated with the measure and install, rather than the online brands, which was solely dependent on an integration delivering the placed orders and then us managing the fulfillment after that. So basically we were involved in more of the end-to-end life cycle of the transaction.
Yeah, and I guess that was made a little bit easier by the fact that you had actually originally started with that, had to stop and change direction and then go back to it. Yeah,
we basically removed the mothballs and learned some lessons from the online agile approach to that particular phase of the project, and then back onto Shutterly Fabulous to revive that and move it forward.
So you've now got quite a few brands live. Vicky, how have you found user adoption?
So for us, it was a bit of a mixed bag, but that largely came down to people's sort of experience and exposure of working with technology. So our teams in the office found it pretty straightforward on the whole, even though it was a kind of complex product and buying journey. They picked it up really quickly, and we haven't had any real challenges there. But with our surveyors and installers, this is a team of people that previously worked exclusively with pen and paper, maybe checked an email every now and again, but they had no experience using a system, a digital system, to create their quotations or to log information about their installation. So that part, I think we underestimated in terms of allowing enough time, this is on us, to get them up to speed, to get them comfortable using that kit. But we've pushed through, and we have made good progress on that to date. And it's just it's just a slightly longer period to get people working from one way to a completely different way.
Okay, great. So we're into 2020, COVID, and the many lockdowns. Talk us through how this affected your business, how you had to adapt, and how Workbooks was able to support with that.
We as a shutter business, we were in quite a unique position. I mean, none of us knew what was going to happen, but Shutterly Fabulous and John Lewis Shutters, who we also were looking after, they effectively mothballed, certainly on the first lockdown, because you couldn't leave your home, you couldn't go and visit people, or if you could, people were not sure about having tradesmen in the house unnecessarily. So the online brands, the 3 DIY brands, they just flourished because people were, during the course of the lockdown now, people were at home. We know that the home interest purchases in the UK and in the States, with the same thing over there, got up. There's nothing else to spend your money on, really. So we found ourselves in a very unique position where we service shutter sales without anyone having to, leave their front door. Going back to 2018, we'd already put in the building blocks with Workbooks. So we were able to scale, and we really did scale. Our business doubled overnight, well, within a couple of months anyway. And a lot of the staff we were able to redeploy from other areas of the business that were quieter to, we were all working at home for the first time as well. So, finding our way, scrambling around for some laptops, etc. But because Workbooks is a single source of truth in our business, we were all able to, all those that were working, were able to go work with the growth and support the online team for those several months, 15, 16 months. So yeah, we capitalised on consumer demand, but we were ready for it, even though I'd like to say we were prepared for something like that, but of course we hadn't. We were just putting in building blocks over the last few years, and were able to scale as a result.
Yeah, I'm not sure anyone can prepare for that, really, can they? But that kind of brings us quite nicely on to you being acquired earlier this year, and how having a system like CRM in place could have helped with that, or just tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so acquisitions, they started last summer, actually earlier, over a year ago, but yeah, we were acquired by Missouri Limited, who own several blinds and shutter businesses in the UK in March this year. We've also acquired, or Missouri have acquired, other shutter companies. So one of our brands, is purely shutters, a Midlands business. And what they say what we're doing now is we're into the process of absorbing their structure, their sort of administration over the next coming months into one place, into Hove. So they will use all parts of their business will go onto Workbooks, which puts us in a position to save costs, improve EBITDA, improve margin, and also for future acquisitions, we've got an oven-ready platform that we've invested a lot of time and resource in over the last few years. That is now by our owners, our Missourians. They're milking their investment.
And I just wanted to go back on something actually, where Vicky mentioned reporting before, but I understand that you do use reporting extensively throughout Workbooks. What could you just talk a bit more about all the other things that you use reporting for?
Yeah, so I guess well, one of the main things is sales and order intake, and Workbooks has really been instrumental in that, because for the first time we've been able to consolidate sales from all of our different brands in the UK and also including the US business, and present that to our new board, which is if we didn't have that in place, it would have been an absolute nightmare, to be honest.
Yeah.
Probably taken someone the best part of a couple of days every month to produce those figures.
I think what it's we've had to develop as a business, or as people, quite quickly since we've been acquired. And like Vicky said, we just wouldn't be able to. Workbooks is at least, we need to become a grown-up. We've had to become a grown-up business, but Workbooks is able to flex with that. So as their demands for data and KPIs have come in, it's a case of building them into the platform and moving forward. Whereas purely who we've purchased, back to how we work, it's paper and spreadsheets. And until we put them in Workbooks and we have full transparency reporting, it's very hard to be able to share that data with the board.
Yeah.
To get a clear view.
It's things like, it's not just sales, we've also got things like conversion rates. So how are the surveyors performing? How are the team performing in terms of getting orders over the line? How long is it taking the factory to make shutters? I mean, that's something that we just didn't have any grasp on before, but now we're actually able to measure that across the business. We're really getting into using dashboards for things now, and we've already jumped on the new springboards this week as soon as that was released. So yeah, for us, it's all about, you know, I think for the first time really deciding which data is important to us, what do we actually want to see, and then being able to present that to the people that need to see it. And yeah, that's been a huge step forward for us.
Yeah, it sounds invaluable. So this last thing on the timeline here is a few further projects, and it talks about streamlining workflows, enhancing automation. Are these projects that have started already? Are they next steps? Brendan, I don't know if you're the best person, or whoever wants to answer that on what all these new projects are.
Let Vicky answer.
We've got quite a few things happening at the moment. So yeah, there's various bits and pieces happening. So we're looking to consolidate our invoicing processes across the business. So taking invoicing from those CMS created orders and actually doing that in Workbooks and connecting up to our accounting package. We're looking at streamlining some of the order processing steps to make that quicker and more efficient. And it's really about using Workbooks to its sort of full potential. That's what we're focusing on at the moment, to take away any sort of last remaining pain points. One of the other things we're doing is building a quite complex product catalogue that's going to be our sort of single source of truth for product. And you know, we've got 5 brands. Each of those have got their own product ranges, and within those ranges, you know, hundreds, maybe thousands of different customizable options. And to support all of that, you've got a load of complex logic and rules, and you know, all sorts of things that are beyond my ability to understand sometimes. And we've got to put that into a single place and basically be able to leverage that wherever you are in the business, so that if we add a new product range, for example, or decide to take something away, we're updating that once, not, you know, 3, 4, 5 times, which can be, you know, really inefficient. So yeah, we're trying to look at how we can get as much as possible into Workbooks and tie up any sort of loose ends, whether that's through integrations or actually using Workbooks to replace other systems.
So you're still finding new things to use Workbooks for then?
Yeah, I think, you know, we're constantly evolving as a business, and we're, you know, I think it's been mentioned a few times, we're quite dynamic in our approach and responsive to new challenges and opportunities. So yeah, I think the work for us with Workbooks will be ongoing, because we're always looking to change and to adapt. So yeah, we're always open to bringing new things in, and yeah, it's a great system, so why not make the most of it and, you know, use everything that we can, really.
Yeah, I think, Sam, in the case study that we've already got, you said that you didn't set out at first, or you didn't think you'd set out for a CRM that was going to manage your entire business, but it's kind of evolved.
Yeah, it was initially to put some automation into Shutterly and improve conversions, and then the online story came in, and now actually we're going to do even more with the B2C and how we automate the orders to the factory. So yeah, I think we're heading into year 5 now of our working relationship, and I don't think we'll ever finish. It won't be right. We'll be done by Easter. That's it. There's always it's an evolving story of constant improvement. So yeah, we hit our objectives. We certainly did. But it's constantly taking them to the next level.
Yeah, and I think that brings me on to the benefits, really. You know, you set your outcomes at the beginning of 2017. Have you achieved those, and what have been the benefits that you've gained?
Going back to the beginning, we wanted greater efficiency. It's not necessarily about reducing heads. It's about, I don't think we've ever made anyone redundant as a result of this system, but we have evolved as a business as a result of it, and redeployed people, and staff satisfaction is important. And if they were sitting there typing up you know, we've got some bright people here that know a lot about product, but they're sitting there doing mundane tasks of typing and checking day in, day out. We were losing them, and now we've taken their skill set away from just heavy admin burden and, you know, utilising them more for customer relations with customers and improving our you know, site conversion and our lead conversion. So we set out what we wanted to do, but you know, it's not over. It just keeps evolving into new products and new offerings coming in.
What have been the core benefits for you, Vicky?
Well, for me, it's I guess in my role, it's a system that's particularly easy to work with as a system administrator. So we use a couple of different platforms, and we can definitely do the most with Workbooks ourselves without having to be from a particularly, you know, strong technical background. And yeah, I guess getting things like transparency of data. So if people ask me for, you know, facts and figures on X, it's not like a painful process to go and produce that. It's, you know, quite quick and easy. And if we've got if the information's in there, we can surface it for people as required. So that's been really good. And I think just being able to see the business develop, and, you know, for me, when I joined, it was at a point where everything was done on paper in the office, and that was really frustrating. I remember thinking there must be a better way of doing this, and people saying, nah, shutters are too complicated. There's no system that can handle shutters. So actually being in a position where we're, you know, we've handled shutters, we're just improving on that and scaling it. It's been really great.
Excellent. So Brendan, how have you found this then? As you say, it's your first project from when you were an engagement manager. How have you found this project?
Well, it's been a joy from start to finish. Actually, it's been exciting. It's been a laugh. It's been fantastic working with these lovely folks and their colleagues as well. You know, looking at the title of the slide here in benefits, one of the things that you know, the focus of the current developments that we're doing for TCMM is about scalability. It's about you know, learning the lessons from all the work that we've done with you know, together over the last 4 years, and actually building that out and making it even more flexible and more powerful, more central, and more scalable, in that hopefully we can you know, help TCMM bring on new brands as they grow and diversify, and have a really solid platform for that. But from an engagement management perspective, it's been really great to be unflattering, really, to be treated almost as or regarded as a trusted advisor. I just love it when, you know, Sam will pick up the phone and say, we're thinking about doing this. What do you think, Brendan? How would that affect our systems? And just starting the ball rolling on the kind of higher level thinking. It's really gratifying to be involved with a really great business like this as a genuine partner. So I've loved every minute of it.
Good to hear. So we're going to move on to our final slide, which is actually results and takeaways before we ask for questions from the audience. And I'm not going to move on to that slide yet, because as the marketing team, we actually marketed this webinar talking about the revenue growth being £1 million, which was taken from the case study that we did about 18 months ago. But yeah, it's actually significantly higher than that, Sam, isn't it? Shall I move on?
Go on then. You've set me up.
There we go.
Yeah, that's a truth. In the time that we've worked with Workbooks, that's the figure we've gone from. Can't say it's all down to Workbooks, and I can't say it's all down to me. A lot of it, COVID spike, I think we probably gained a good 2-3 years worth of growth in 18 months at that time. But, you know, building blocks, it was hindsight, foresight. We hadn't have got in and made the investment in a decent, scalable CRM back in that, then we would never have hit any of these figures. We certainly wouldn't have hit the margin, because we'd have an office twice the size that we've got full of people.
Yeah, and I think
checking orders.
The thing is as well, like if we didn't have CRM, we would have had, you know, probably double the amount of people that we had at the time, had previously. And, you know, being dynamic and fast-paced business, you just can't make changes that quickly with that many people and doing that many manual processes. So yeah, it would have been a struggle, I think.
It would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
Talk us through the rest of these results and the key takeaways, which are the couple of ones at the bottom.
Business insights. You'll pick one, Vicky. Well, the business insights is, I mean, the dashboards. We've been doing some more again now, only the last couple of weeks, and it's just, we're trying to grow one of our businesses significantly, and so we're spending more on marketing in that area, and you can see the leads coming in. You can see how many leads you need to hit to fill the diaries for how many people, how much conversion. So it's so insightful to have that data. Like I keep saying about Purely, who they're ours now, they will be Workbooks, but I needed to know how many appointments we had last month for the board meeting a couple of weeks ago. It took me 10 seconds in Workbooks at the touch of a button. Poor lady at Purely had to go away and count cells on spreadsheet. So that's just one question. So you take it for granted at times, but it's quite insightful for us to purchase a business more in its infancy to see what we're excited to push Workbooks into that arena because we know what we can deliver. So I think that's your business insights there, really.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of it's not a quick win. I think potentially at the start of the project, probably underestimated how easy and quick it would be to implement. And I think it's things like, when you have got data here, there and everywhere and trying to sort of corral that into the right place in the system, that can be quite tricky. And I think you really need to have, people that understand as they are currently, but also have the vision for where it could go and where it should go. And just, being prepared to put the time into the really doing the detail, really thinking about how you want to work in the future. And then just to jump onto the collaboration, I think, for us, the biggest benefits of working with Workbooks has been the collaboration and them taking the time, mainly Brendan, taking the time to really understand us as a business, how we work, how we function, and being prepared to support that if it does mean changing direction at the drop of a hat. Be able to jump on board with that and to find solutions to the problems and just work with us to get the best out of the system.
It's like Brendan said, it's another head around the table.
Yeah.
We've got this right. Here's a new offering. Vicky, what do you think? Brendan, what do you think? Oh, we could utilise this. Let's leverage that. That's the level of work that we're at within our business in terms of the collaboration thing.
And I think that goes far down to thinking about when we've contacted support, for example, you don't just get an off-the-shelf answer from someone who doesn't understand what's going on. If the person you ask in support doesn't know the exact answer, they'll go and speak to someone in the Workbooks team that understands our project, and they'll come back with the information. And you don't often get that with other. I know with our previous CRM partner, it's you just didn't get that sort of level of interest and detail, and actually it does feel like Workbooks want to work with us, and support us, and we're kind of all really pulling in the same direction.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. So we're going to move on now to any questions from our audience. So I'm just going to take a look here and see what has come in. We've got a question here that says, did you have to create any new roles within your company to deal with the change management aspects?
Well,
here you are. We found Vicky in the office. Checking orders, typing.
Yeah, so in 2018, I was the supervisor for our online brands, and around the time that we were making that change, got pulled into one of the project meetings with Workbooks, and
never left.
Yeah, I've just been here ever since, in the same room. That's essentially how my role really evolved, and I've now got another person in my team and another person joining us in a month. And obviously we're not exclusively working with Workbooks, we have other systems, but it's a huge part of our day-to-day.
It's the backbone of.
Yeah, but for us it wasn't like a, oh, you've got to employ someone else to do it. It's just, if you start to see the benefit very quickly of having someone that's just really thinking about using the system, understanding it, being the point of contact as well. Especially
for the implementation. So that's where you really got involved, and then it was like, it just carried on.
Yeah.
Never ended. So it is a yes. It depends if I can say to that.
Yeah, but it's also saying that you do need that person in house that understands that system and that can work with your CRM provider. Yeah.
I mean, someone with an understanding of your business, exactly how it works and where you want to go with it. I think that was quite important for us, just to be able to marry the two things together. Because you can have people on both sides of the fence, but you need to sort of be able to, bring those two elements together.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. And then we've got another one here, and then we probably should finish up the session. Every journey has good and bad bits. What's been the best and worst part of the journey?
I think the best part is just seeing how far we've come from start. Like when you actually really sit back and think about how many processes we've changed or automated or made better, more efficient, more accurate. It is a huge achievement, I think, on both parts, and it's quite easy to forget where you've come from. Forget all parts of the journey, but it wasn't always smooth. I mean, I guess the hardest part for us, and probably the hardest thing for me in my role, is juggling the changes of direction. So obviously in the beginning we were super invested in Shutterly. Well, I wasn't, because I was doing something else, but and then very quickly we had to change direction. We had to stop that, and with that it's quite difficult to pick it back up again. It's possible, but it does elongate the entire process. You have to get people sort of re-engaged, reinvested with the project. People change roles, move on, join. It does make it a little bit more complicated. So I think probably the hardest bit has probably been the time and the fact that we've had to stretch it out over so many years. But I think taking that approach, it was just a necessary part of our journey with it, really.
Yeah, I think related to that, Ruth, as I read on a word earlier, is we tried a little bit too hard at first. And we tried to over automate everything. It's like kids in a sweet shop. Great, that can do that, that can do that, that can do that. We never have to do it, and just press a button and we're all done. And that was probably the waste of resource. And we don't work like that anymore. You can make such a big step anyway. It's probably, my advice would be, all the learning from us. If we could go back in time, we probably wouldn't have been try not to over automate everything. Implement it, see how it works, then reassess, and then stick in your automation or your nice to haves, because some of it was a waste of time, or it was too complicated and people didn't understand it. So, and that's a learn from ourselves.
Yeah, take time to think it through. And
work with. Yeah, don't try. Rome wasn't built in a day, so don't try and crack it all in one go, and then you find get to 80% right, then work with it, and then keep improving it, keep scaling it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, Brendan, what have been your highlights?
Well, I was the highlights and lowlights. The lowlight actually is probably much the same as what Vicky said. To use the analogy of the journey, it felt like a hairpin bend, being suddenly switched away from the Shutterly Fabulous project to the online brands. But we were able to respond and forge on ahead, and then come back to that. So that was good. But I guess the highlight for me is every time we have a go live, we have a brand go live, we have a major new release go live, and those are real highlights. It's really hard work. There is some burning candle at both ends here and there, but it's just great fun to have such a collaborative customer that you really genuinely feel that you are part of the same team. There is no supplier customer divide. we pick up the phone to each other, we email each other, we Teams each other, we've got to WhatsApping each other. So yeah, I mean, we feel like one happy family. So yeah, it's been a terrific journey so far, and looking forward to continuing it.
Excellent. Well, I'll thank you all for your time today. I hope that the audience has been able to see that Workbooks really aims to have a truly collaborative approach when working with their customers, and they can see the benefits that a customer will get through that kind of approach. Yeah, so thank you very much for your time today, and say goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.